was wild is I went to the grocery store. My dad took me to the grocery store so that I would have food after weigh-ins the next day. But while I was at the grocery store, my vision went out. I was so depleted I couldn't see.
Oh my
And so
gosh, dude.
we're walking around the grocery store and I literally can't see. And my dad, everything is so cloudy. My blood sugar is so low that my dad is having to like tell me what things are.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk Your Walk with your host, Blake Derringer. I don't know why I'm laughing already, but I am. Tonight, I am joined with a buddy I've known for quite a while. I would actually say I've watched this dude grow up. I've watched him go off to the Marines and live in other states. And somehow these last, I guess, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years. We've just kind of hit it off. We have a lot of the same interests.
Probably too many.
Yeah, we watch all the same podcasts and stuff. So we've had a little bit of a bond, but I really wanted to get him on here to talk about his most recent fight that he just had. So we're gonna dive into that. We'll probably dive into the Marine story, and we'll just kind of see where it goes. But first of all, what's up, Bryson Davis?
What is up, man? I'm super happy to be on here, man. I feel like we've had so many conversations that probably should have been podcasted.
Yeah, dude.
So now we finally get to do one.
Is this the first time you've ever been? Is this the first time you've ever done anything like this?
Yeah, I've done a radio show before, but definitely not this in depth. The podcast format of just kind of going at it, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. It'll be good.
Good, man. Well, yeah, I'm glad you get on there. Yeah, I've been, this is, I think, my 4th episode that I've done with this. And, the whole idea of it is just to kind of get to know people a little bit better and kind of understand, the walk that they've had through this life. And, it's been funny to kind of watch you, be like this little kid at church, what I'm saying, a pastor's kid and all that, and just kind of watch you like grow up. And then, same thing with your other brother Caleb and Bethany, and so I don't know, it's just kind of unique to kind of sit back and watch the way your guys' path goes. How old are you? You just had a birthday, right?
Yeah, just yesterday I turned 26.
That's what's up. Happy birthday, buddy.
Thank
there you go.
Thank you.
This is my birthday gift to you. I'm gonna treat you like a real fighter, like I'm Errol Hawani.
Yeah, I love it, man. All about it.
Yeah, man. So we really haven't talked besides text. This is how it went to me, right? You text me one day, "Hey dude, I think I'm going to join this gym." And I was like, the dad in me comes out immediately, and I'm just like, "No, dude, don't get hit in the head. Like, it's stupid. Don't do it." Right.
Right.
And then maybe 2 months later, you're like, "Hey dude, I got a fight coming up."
yeah, it's kind of wild.
So walk me through it, man. What made you join the gym, and then just kind of talk about that whole process first.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I grew up playing sports. I grew up, loving competition, and in high school, I got a little bit more into the physical sports. I like to hit people. I like to have fun. And I really didn't hit my physical peak until I became a Marine, which was kind of wild. I kind of hit a second puberty at 18, and I was like, "Oh, hey, I'm a pretty athletic dude." And so as a Marine, definitely got more into combat sports. And so that's when I started. I did martial arts pretty extensively in the Marine Corps martial arts program, and then it was 2014. I'd been a Marine for almost 2 years, and I started advancing in the martial arts program, and I saw a UFC fight. And I had watched UFC before, but when I saw this particular night of fights, I'll never forget it. I was like, "Oh my goodness, this sport's insane. This is something I would want to do." And so that's when I started taking my training more seriously, and I advanced all the way through the Marine Corps martial arts program, and I became a black belt with a red tab.
Nice.
in the Marine Corps martial arts program. But that is the Marine Corps martial arts is gauged much more towards lethality, and much less geared towards winning a round. Because in combat, there's no, rep. Oh, it was a groin strike, which I experienced this last weekend, which we'll talk about. But
yes, we will.
I was like, I'm trying to win a fight, man. Like, I'm not worried about, what the ref says. And so I started training on base, like in the Marine Corps martial arts program, but then also out in town.
Okay, so I guess I didn't realize that.
So I'd been training for a few years, but I really hadn't planned to like take a fight or do anything like that. And then I got sent on recruiting duty for my last couple of years in the Marine Corps. And so when I was in Bloomington, I did some kickboxing. I did some local stuff there, but never anything to the magnitude that I just did.
Right.
And so I moved to California when I got out of the Marine Corps in July, which was a whole other story that I'm sure we'll get into. But so I was training on my own, just doing my own thing. With COVID, things were closed, things were open.
Right.
But then I saw on Instagram some of the 10th Planet fighters from SoCal. That SoCal was, communist Russia. Gavin Newsom had it locked up. They were coming up north to train at the 10th Planet gyms up here, because things were more open in Northern California.
Right.
And so it's crazy that social media has such an impact on everything we do here. And so I saw like on their Instagram stories, they were like in San Francisco, which is where I live. And I was like, dude, like I'm going to see if I can't train, at 10th Planet, which is, if you're in the MMA community, Eddie Bravo and Tony Ferguson, Kelvin Gastelum, all sorts of big names in the 10th Planet.
It's very well known in the MMA world for sure.
Definitely. And so I just shot an email and was like, hey, like I'd love to come train. Like I see you guys are gonna like have classes and whatnot on Tuesday. I'd love to come in. And I got an email back and they're like, hey, like show up on Friday, like get some rounds in, like we'll see what's up. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, so stop right there, because that's the most terrifying thing to someone like me who is borderline a wimp. Like the thought that if I signed up for a kickboxing class, that they would just be like, all right, now granted, this is a pristine, like, what you're signing up for at 10th Planet, right? And I'm sure you didn't enter in did you enter in a beginner's class, or is it literally like, all right, you want to fight, come show up?
Okay. They were like, what are your credentials basically? And I just told them like, I've trained Muay Thai for, like 3-4 years. Like I have a black belt with a red tab and like in Marine Corps martial arts, but like, the competition out here is going to be much more extensive, like, much higher. But I'd love the opportunity to come train with you guys. And they were like, yeah, show up, Friday at 11 and we'll see what's up. And my first day, all we did was spar. Like all we did was spar.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So like I got in there and I was like, oh, so like this is what it is. Like we're in the ring throwing hands, throwing kicks. And it was hard.
I was gonna say
in day one.
Really? So and you basically showed up and got in a fight on your first day.
Yeah.
It was sink or swim.
Definitely.
Dude. I'd be like, I'm out. I'm gonna go play tennis. I'm out.
Yeah. I left, with like tissue shoved up my nose and the whole just ice everywhere. But I was like, all right, like that was fun. But yeah, and so I talked to the main coach there. His name is Gino Francisco, and he is a jiu-jitsu black belt under Eddie Bravo. And so, obviously he's been around. He's been around for a minute. And so, I kind of just talked with him. He's like, yeah, man, like come in, just train, like get some work in and we'll see what's up. And so I was just in there training for a few weeks, just, and during COVID, I was like, I had really just like lifted and like worked out on my own. Like I wasn't worried about what I was eating. Like I wasn't a Marine anymore. And so I didn't have to worry about my weight. Like I was 194 pounds. Biggest I've ever been. Right. And I've been training for about 3 weeks. And he was like, hey, like, I know you have some experience. Like we have a spot for the US Muay Thai Open in 7 weeks. Like, you want to do it? And I was just like, oh wow, like I hadn't thought this far. And so like I kind of took the weekend and I was like, you know what? Like I'm going to do this. Like, this is going to be a great experience. Like, this is going to get me, kind of like straight into the fire, like definitely be a
Yeah.
step up from anything I've ever done, combat sports related. Like, these guys are going to be, the competition is going to be a lot stiffer. And it'll be a good measuring stick for me. Like, I'll see like, hey, like, am I cut out to do this? Like, is this something I can really pursue?
So
And
you
it, and
really
it,
had, so you really had no fear. You really didn't feel like you needed to sharpen your tools anymore or anything like that. Like you just was ready. Were you just kind of ready, like you just said, ready to see where I stand?
so I knew I was gonna, like, so we went into camp immediately, and I knew like that camp was gonna be pretty crazy, pretty intense.
Hmm.
And it definitely was. So 7 straight weeks of multiple practices a day, 6 days a week, hard sparring rounds. And then myself and another teammate, we both competed. And so they would send us up a few times to Santa Rosa to the NorCal Fight Alliance. And that's David Terrell's team. A guy
Okay.
who,
Can you hear my dog?
a little bit, a little bit.
I'm about to go upstairs. Y'all about to see a dog get murdered live on Zoom. She's going nuts. I'm actually going to pause this for 1 second. I'm going to go
Yeah,
control this little
absolutely.
rat. All right. I had to take care of a little rat in the house, if you know what I mean. Threw her in the pond. No, I'm just kidding. I actually brought her down here so she wouldn't bark at everything that walks by. So anyway, sorry about that, guys. So yeah, okay. So you were talking, I think I was asking you about like sharpening your tools and all that. So you felt pretty confident going in to go ahead and get in real combat, basically.
Yeah, like I felt pretty good on where I was at, but I knew I was going to have to go into a hard camp. Like, I knew there was a lot of little things that I needed to add to my game. But I trusted my coaches a ton there. The 10th Planet community is just, it's super high level, and so I trusted that they were going to get me there. And my coach Gino had seen me spar several times. Like, he knew I had some experience, but like, he knew I was ready. He thought I was ready, and he knew he could get me ready. And so having his confidence gave me confidence that, like, I was like, hey, like, I know that in 7 weeks, like, I can take my raw skills that I have right now. I can sharpen that, and I can go compete at a pretty high level.
Right. And I'm sure with them knowing that you're a Marine, they immediately know that you have a toughness about you, that you don't have a quit in you. So then they probably take that athlete and they just, I would think as a coach, it'd be fun to have a young man coming in here willing to learn the sport. And now I just teach him to get better. So have you felt that? I mean, have you felt like you've just improved tremendously during that camp?
It was crazy. And I would say, I mean, I feel like I'm 10 times better after this fight camp than I was before. And I feel like you always hear Brennan Schaub talk about it,
Hmm.
but he always says, like, the only way to get better at fighting is fighting. Like, you can
Yeah.
spar, you can train, but like, actually, like, preparing for a fight, going in, fighting, seeing what that looked like going through that experience is how you get better. And you don't really understand it until you do it. Because you, like, this whole camp, like, my coaches pushed me so incredibly hard. But knowing, like, you have an expiration date, knowing that, like, oh, like, I'm gonna go, like, fight another human being who's trying to rip
Yeah.
my head off, like,
Yeah.
and you have the countdown there, right? It's like every day you're like, oh, 43 days, 27 days, 13 days. Like, it pushes you that extra mile. And then, like, my coaches pushed me extremely hard. And they would always kind of remind me, like, I'm gonna be tough. They're like, dude, you're a Marine. Like, this is nothing. Like, come on, like,
Yeah.
keep going. Like, let's see it. Like, what are you made of? And then
But
having
it
it.
but now compare it real quick. Like when you're in the dark spots of a gym and I'm sure they're sending new fresh guys at you all the time, really getting you conditioned. Like how does that even relate to the Marines, or does it?
So I would say, like, the toughness aspect is definitely there, as far as, like, I'm depleted, I'm completely out of breath, I'm completely spent, and I've got to keep moving. So, like, that aspect is definitely there. I would say the focuses are different. Whereas, like, in the Marine Corps, the focus is definitely more towards, like, brute force, hard as you can, like,
Right.
keep going. Like, just the stakes are much different.
Obviously, yeah.
Whereas on the sports side of it, on the Muay Thai, on the MMA side of it, it's much more about staying technically proficient. So when you're exhausted, when you're drained, hey, fall back on my training. Like, what do I do in this place? Um,
Find ways to stay protected.
Right. It's not about like, oh, and like finish this engagement as quick as possible and move on to the next one, or, you know, tell these guys what they need to do, or get my orders. It's more focused on, okay, how do I protect myself? And then move to a place where I can either get my breath back, or I can find a way to be offensive again.
Find that pocket, find that
exactly.
pocket to get your rest, to get your wits back. Yeah. Which,
and then get back on my, like, get the fight back to my terms.
Right. And not to jump too far ahead, but you had to do that in your fight.
Definitely.
Right?
And so,
yeah.
What's crazy about the US Muay Thai Open is it's a complete random draw who you fight. And so what was kind of sucked was the first dude I fought, the guy Drew, won the entire thing.
Oh,
so
did he really?
like he did. So I was like,
that's
okay,
a good
like,
thing. That's a good thing.
Okay, like the champ beat me, and I pushed him pretty hard. I pushed him to his breaking point. And I knew his striking when I drew his name. I knew his striking was going to be pretty elite. The gym that he comes from and the amount of experience he has, we knew this dude, like, his striking was going to be quick. It was going to be sharp.
It was, and he
was
had
fast.
He had a lot of length on you too.
Definitely.
And we'll talk about, well, we are jumping ahead. I was going to lead up to that fight, but I mean, it's fine. Yeah. What I was going to say, we'll talk about later, but so that was a little bit of a bad luck of the draw for your first time fighting, huh?
Right. Yeah. I mean, at this level, Dev, I've done some local stuff before, but never to this level. Like, never anything like a huge crowd, a flight, you know, to Phoenix.
Your family.
My family being there was pretty crazy. Having friends.
How much longer are you going to put your parents through this stress, bro?
That's a whole other conversation.
I would love to talk about it.
Oh man. But the whole experience was pretty wild, like pretty extreme, as far as, you know, that huge crowd, you know, 600 fighters, you know, the weigh in the day before. And I cut from about 194 to 147.
I want to talk about that. How was that weight cut? Because I've been a martial arts fan for a very, very long time, and everyone says that's the first battle is making that weight cut.
And like everyone talks about like the Dana White, like, oh, so you want to be a fighter? Like, I would say the weight cut is like, it's torture. And I've cut weight my whole life, for whether it was wrestling or whether it was powerlifting or like just like different things that I've had to cut weight for. And I've done it my whole life. And so I'm a pro really at cutting weight. But like this weight cut was a whole different ball game compared to like the weight cuts I've done. So I went from 194, which is the most I've ever weighed, down to 147. And like, you know, you feel the effects of it. So like I had a nutritionist the whole time. So he would send me my macronutrients every day. And really it was a game of, I would cut my calories one week, and then I would cut my carbs the next week, and then my calories, and then my carbs, my calories, and then my carbs. And so I lost about 20 pounds the first week of the weight cut, which is pretty wild.
And if I'm not
so hard.
And if I'm not mistaken, you were putting weight on just before you started training, right? Because I feel like you were flexing in the mirror again, and I was like, oh, here goes Bryson.
I was getting big, like, and because the gyms had reopened in California, and I was like, you know, I'm going to get as big as possible. Like, I don't have a weight limit to worry about, like in the Marine Corps. I'm going to get just, you know, as thick as possible, like walk sideways through doors.
You coming out looking like the Little Rock.
Like that's what I was trying to do.
Call you the Pebble, the Pebble.
Yeah, I know, right? The Pebble. But yeah, so like I knew I had to cut weight. Being a 5'8" fighter, like you can't afford to fight, you know, at 190 pounds. And so I knew I was going to have to cut some weight. And I knew like 145, like featherweight is right where I want to be for being 5'8". And so I knew like, hey, I can make that weight. And so it was pretty gradual. And then I stalled out at about 158 pounds. And so I was like, eesh. Like, I still got 11 pounds to go. I'm not losing any more weight. And really, like, I mean, my calories got down to like 1,200 calories a day, which is not very much. I was hurting. And then I would cut my carbs. I would cut my sugar. And so here, the wildest thing was the night before. So the day before, I'm 154 pounds, and I've got to make 147. And
my God.
So we get off the plane, I step on the scale, and I know I've got, about 7 to 8 pounds that I need to lose, and I haven't eaten either. So I'm like, yikes, I can't afford to drink water, I can't afford to eat, and I gotta cut weight. Like, this is gonna suck. And
Yeah.
so basically, the hotel we were at had a hot tub, which was kind of nice. So I spent an hour in the hot tub when we first got there, and every about 12 minutes, I'd run and I'd jump in the pool to get my temperature back down, and then get back in the hot tub. So I lost about
Does
a
that
pound.
does that help you? Does that help you sweat or
Yeah.
changing
So
your
like
temperature?
the changing your temperature, just being able to get it back high, because your body stalls out kind of
Yeah, that makes sense.
after about 10 to 12 minutes. Your body's like, okay, this is the temperature we're at. We're going to stop sweating. You jump in the pool, cool down, get back, raise it again, sweat some more.
And you only lost 1 pound doing that?
In an hour. And so I was like, all right, it's time to get pretty extreme. And so what we did is we set up my bathroom. We set up the tub, super hot water, Epsom salt, lay in the tub for about 10 minutes, 12 minutes with just your nose sticking out of it. And then I would get out of the tub. I would throw on my sauna suit. I'd throw on sweatpants, a hoodie, and then I would stay in the bathroom. We had all the vents and everything, towels locked up,
Yeah.
and I would surround myself in blankets for 10 to 12 minutes, and just be pouring sweat. And I'd take it off. I get back in the tub, just my nose sticking out. And so we did that over and over and over and over. I got to about 145 pounds that way. And it was miserable. But that night I was able to eat.
I saw Chris Cyberg do that, and it looked like she was going to die when she
It's
did.
pretty rough.
Yeah.
And so I was able to eat a piece of fruit because I had cut an extra pound. So that was like,
oh man,
I get to eat one piece of pineapple. Like, this is the highlight of my day. But what was wild is I went to the grocery store. My dad took me to the grocery store so that I would have food after weigh-ins the next day. But while I was at the grocery store, my vision went out. I was so depleted I couldn't see.
Oh my
and so
gosh, dude.
We're walking around the grocery store, and I literally can't see. And my dad, everything is so cloudy. My blood sugar is so low that my dad is having to tell me what things are. I'm like, oh, I was like, well, I'm gonna need some complex carbs. Let's get some bagels. And he's like, well, which ones do you want? And I was like, what do they have? I don't know what's what. And so my dad's literally reading me labels.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Like, that one's good. And so and I was completely sick to my stomach. I couldn't see. My head was pounding. And
okay, so how do you? Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Finish that.
But it was crazy because my dad is even with me, and he's like, how are you gonna do this? Like, what in the world? Like, you're gonna fight someone in a couple of days? And you're about to die, dude. And I was like, I know. Like, this is crazy. But this is the way this is the way of the beast, man. Like, this is it. And so I wake up the next morning, and I'm right on weight. I'm right on weight. I can take a couple sips of water, and then I spit them out. A couple sips of water and spit them out. Dude. And so the weigh-in wasn't till noon. And my coach had a backpack with him, with all my food in it, Pedialyte, the whole nine, so that as soon as I stepped off the scale, I could just start throwing food and water in my body. And what sucks is you have to wait to eat because you're so depleted.
Yeah.
You have to get liquids in your body before you eat. So you're starving, but if you eat immediately, you're gonna get super sick. So you gotta sip on the Pedialyte, you gotta sip on the water, and you're just like, I'm ready to eat. And so
the water and Pedialyte doesn't even satisfy you at that point. You want food.
It's good, but you want to eat. You want to eat. And so
can you feel your body completely changing as it's getting those nutrients? Really?
100%. It's what sucked is there was an issue with my paperwork. And so I'm trying to step on the scale. I'll send the pictures over to you. But my coach is taking pictures because the guy is the official's going through my paperwork. And he's like, okay, where's this? And then they couldn't find my name. They couldn't find my registration. And it was probably 3 extra minutes that I had to wait to step on the scale, but it felt like an eternity.
And you're cranky and you're mad.
Oh, completely. And I'm normally happy dude laughing. And my mom is like, you are the most irritable, most like, I
Well,
can't
yeah, Mom.
stand you right now. I'm like, Mom, I've lost 50 pounds. Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
she's
I'm
in town.
dying.
She's in town. She wants to go out to eat and just have fun. And you're like, Mom, I'm trying not to look at food. I can't even smell it
Yeah.
right now.
And
Yeah.
is rough. And so, I
So,
step on the scale and I'm at the max, 147 even. So like I made weight. I'm sipping on Pedialyte, and then after about 20, 30 minutes, my coach hands me a box of oatmeal raisin cookies. The whole thing, like the entire, like a dozen, they're gone in about 4 minutes. Then it's
hold on.
protein
Why
bars,
cookies? I
bananas.
mean, at this point, are you wanting to put as much sugar and carbs and
As
crap in your
So you
body?
want complex carbs. Is the complex carbs and protein. You really don't want a lot of fat, because the fat will prevent the glycogen to restore in your muscles. And so most of the weight that you lose is water and glycogen. So like that's stored in your muscles. So
Gotcha.
the less body fat that you have on you, the more weight you can cut, because it comes from your muscles. Your muscles just kind of shrivel up. But then
Right.
you eat and your muscles fill right back up. And
Hmm.
so I began that refill process of just like tons of granola, and pasta,
Hmm.
rotisserie chicken, going through that whole thing. And that next day I was 170 pounds, um,
Gosh.
before I fought. So I went from 147 to about
So
170, a little bit over 170
in a
when I
day?
stepped in the ring in the day. And
Oh man.
I'm about 175, 180 today. So just
That's
not even a week
crazy.
later.
That's crazy, man. So take me back to when you and your dad are in the store. And I
Yeah.
mean, there had to be a moment where you're just like, I'm 26. What am I doing? Like, what? I literally can't see right now. Like this, did you have that fear of your body shutting down? Or have you had so much experience being in those crappy times that you just is just something inside you that just doesn't let you quit?
So like there was definitely like the moment of like definitely in the store, because there was a couple times where like I had to stop. I was like, hey, like we got to stop right here. My dad is a 50-year-old like guy who's he's a normal dad. Like
Yeah.
he shouldn't be able to walk at a pace that like a healthy 26-year-old is like, Dad, you need to slow down. You're going too fast for me.
Oh,
But
really?
that's kind of like he's like, kind of looking at me like, dude, are you okay? And I think seeing kind of like some of like the panic he had, and my dad is not a super like, he's never really babied me at all in my life.
Right.
Um, in anything, and to kind of see him be like, are you okay? Like, are you all right? Like almost made me kind of second guess myself of like, oh dude, am I okay? Like, cause he's seen me go through some tough,
Battles.
being bad physical shape. I was like, is
Yeah.
this something I need to worry about? But definitely just kind of like I flipped the switch and I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat tomorrow. It's going to be all right. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to sleep in as late as possible. Step
So
on the
what? I can't
scale.
see.
I'm going to eat.
So what? I can't see my family. I'll have a banana
Right.
tomorrow.
I'll have a banana and things will be all right. And yeah, I
That's
was,
crazy.
definitely in a bad mood, super irritable. And I would say one thing I didn't like, I've cut weight in the past, but never to this magnitude. Um, every sound in my head was like a megaphone, like right in my ear. Like
Ooh.
my sister was like we were in the room talking, and she was talking like I'm talking to you right now,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm gonna need you to take it down to about 100 decibels. Like my head is just like throbbing, and
Yeah.
she's like, what? Like what's wrong with it? Like
I mean, you got to think you're kind of putting yourself on the deathbed, on your own deathbed, but you're still walking around and you don't have nurses around you. Like,
right.
if a nurse, I'm assuming if a nurse was with you or a doctor, or whatever, they'd be like, no, we're taking you to the hospital right now. Like in a way, it's almost crazy that your dad's instincts of just like, my son can't see, like I'm getting him to the hospital. Right. I'm surprised that didn't kick in. I mean, I know you said he has seen you go through some battles, but that's, I mean, I guess you're pretty lucky that your dad didn't take you to the hospital.
Yeah, I know. But he was like, I could like kind of see he was freaking out a little bit. Like, what in the world? Like, you can't see. Like, and I had like
Yeah.
cold chills. I was having like cold chills, and I was like, well, I guess I'm sweating. This is a good thing. And my dad's like, what is wrong with you? And like, I'm like, we're in Phoenix, Arizona. It's like
Yeah.
104 degrees outside. And
Yeah.
I'm like shivering and
Oh
like
my
sweat's
goodness,
like pouring
dude.
out of me. And I'm like, well, I'm sweating. So that's a good thing. Like I might lose
Yeah.
a couple more
Yeah.
ounces.
That's all you cared
But
about. You had a goal. You had a goal in mind.
yeah, I had a goal, and really the training was so intense. It was so hard. Um, I was like, I've worked too hard, like to eat right now and then miss weight tomorrow. Like I'm not gonna do that. Like I'll do whatever it
Right.
takes.
Right.
And it was a good time. It was fun. I'm super glad I did it. And so,
So let's talk
um,
about it. So you make the weight, the days are upon you. You're about to fight this guy. You made it sound like you kind of knew that he was pretty good once you drew his name. So what happens there? Like, did your coaches come to you and be like, okay, we do know this guy, he's good at XYZ, and try to give you well, I'm getting ahead of myself again because you had to wait like all night, right? Before you took your
yeah.
fight. Talk about that real quick.
So they give you a number, right? So they give you a number of the order in which you're going to fight. Because there's so many fights that happen. It's one giant room filled with people, and there's 3 rings. So there's 3 fights happening at one time, and they give you a number. So my number was 123, and so they tell you that it's a 15 to 20 fights an hour. So do the math. Fights start at 8 a.m. So then do the math, and that's about the hour that you're going to fight. Warm up about an hour and a half before your fight. Stay warm. Check in 20 minutes before your fight. Then you go to the kind of like the staging area, and then they take you out to the ring. And so when we first got my number, we're thinking, okay, about 2:00, I'm going to fight today. It's pretty early in the day to fight, about middle. And so we're thinking, okay, 2:00, I'm going to fight. So like I wake up, I eat a big meal the
Mhm.
morning of, and we're thinking I'll fast 5 hours out. And so 2:00, 2:30 is when we're thinking I'm going to fight. So mid morning, I'm like, okay, I'm done eating. I'm not going to eat again until after the fight. Like maybe I'll have like some gummy bears, like, some quick sugar.
Yeah, yeah.
But aside from that, I'm not going to eat again. Well, then the fights are getting delayed. Things are happening. Like somebody got injured. They had to have an ambulance come. So, that's you're not messing with your head at all.
Yeah, not at all.
And so things keep getting delayed. And then like, as the day progresses, we're like, dude, fights are going way slower. I need to eat again because, I'm not going to
Yeah.
fight till much later. So then we're starting to see the progression that I'm probably not going to fight till around 7 or 7:30, which is another kind of curveball. And so my teammate, it was kind of crazy. His number was 40, like 43 or something like that. Well, then they in the morning, they sent out a new order for some of the lower weight classes, and he ended up being 5. And so
Oh,
he found
wow.
out about an hour before his
Oh,
fight. So
wow.
he's like, I got to get my hands wrapped right now. And so my teammate, he's a stud. He's a kid. He's 19, but he's going to be really, really good. Just
Is he the one
super
with the
technical
kind
striker.
of the longer hair,
Yeah,
I think? I've
yeah, he's
seen
got
pictures.
longer hair. He's a
Yeah.
kid here from Daly City here in San Francisco, just south. And so he fought first. And so he gets his hands wrapped. He warms up real quick. He had he dropped his mouthpiece on the way. And so then we had like this incident of like, oh man, like we don't have we got to find a mouthpiece. Like,
Oh,
it
man.
was all last minute. But then he gets in there and he starches this dude in the first round, just pieces him up. He's
Ooh.
landing head kicks, just he's feeling great. And then he comes into the corner and throws up. Well,
Whoa.
in amateur fighting, if you throw up in the corner, they automatically call the fight because they think you were probably concussed. And
Oh,
so
wow.
like he just spent 7 weeks, and his last fight got canceled because of COVID the day before. So he did a
Oh,
full camp, fight canceled, another full camp. Then he flies to Phoenix. We're going to do this fight together. And then he pieces this dude up and then throws up in the corner and doctor stoppage.
oh my
And so
gosh. And had to cut
so
weight and had to go through all that
right.
pain and
So super disappointing for him. And so like he's with me all day and he's like, dude, like you're gonna carry the flag for us, like you've got this, like the fight's not over, so I got all this pressure mounting up, all these things going on. I'm like, you know
yeah.
what, like I'm gonna do this, we're gonna make this happen. And
Yeah.
so my coach, we figure out who my guy is gonna be. It's delayed. And so my coach already knows he knows this guy's coaches, like he knows this guy's team. He knows what they do, what they're about. And so he knows, he's like,
Mhm.
hey, this guy's striking up top is going to be quick. It's going to be fast. It's going to be sharp. And his kicks are going to come quick. So,
And
so
you
be ready.
and you told me he was the oldest
He,
participant. Yeah.
yeah. So he was 37. So he's been at it for a while.
Yeah.
You
It's a
know,
huge
a
difference.
lot of experience. But I knew that nobody I had figured that nobody had cut as much weight as me. Nobody was going to be as strong as me. And so I knew that this guy may have had the advantage on me in striking, but I was just going to clinch this dude and I was going to control this guy. I was going to throw my knees into him. I was going to wear him down, hopefully win a decision, like win a couple rounds, the first and second. And then in the third round, I'd go to throw my hands after I'd worn him down and won a couple rounds. And
Nice.
so
So that was your strategy right there.
that was our strategy. And so got in there, and I immediately felt this quickness right off rip. And so he threw that jab lightning fast, and I threw him into the corner right off. As
Yeah.
soon as the fight started, I was like, oh, I'm going to clinch this dude, like immediately. Like we knew that was the plan. I threw him into the corner, and we went at it. And so the first round, I felt this quickness, but threw him in the clinch, controlled him. I got called for a groin strike in the first round that after further review was about 4 inches above his knee. And I think that that just comes from experience. I think I hurt him with that knee. And
Yeah, you landed it
he'd been
right
there
on his.
before.
It looked like you landed it right on his quad. I mean,
Right.
it looked
I think it got him
flush.
deep, and I think it hurt him. And I think just the experience, he knew like, hey, like reach for my groin and I'm going to get out of the corner.
Yeah.
And so that was a bummer. But I just threw him right back in the clinch as soon as
Yeah.
the round started.
That's what I was gonna say earlier. Like I was really impressed with your clinch because he looked taller, and I was like, man, Bryson's really, you're really getting the leverage on him in the clinch, and he was able to throw your knees and dirty box a little bit, but he just had that range on you. That was the number one thing that stuck out to me. I was like, man, that dude looks long, but I was impressed with your power over him.
And so yeah, I definitely felt like I had the strength advantage, but I felt
Yeah,
he was too long and he was too quick to just get in a hands war with him.
yeah,
And normally I would be like, like, you want to go to war? Like, let's go to war, like let's stand and
yeah,
bang. And I even tried to like kind of taunt him a little bit a couple of times when he would circle. I was like, oh, are we going to fight? Like, let's stand in the center of the ring and let's bang. Really just trying to get him to come close so I could clinch him and throw some more knees.
yeah.
But yeah, so felt like I had a really good first round, won the first round on the scorecards. And I was feeling good going into the second round. Second round, threw him in the clinch again. And he just programmed me. It comes from experience. He kind of knew how I was stepping in when I was reaching for the clinch.
That's the experience. That's the experience.
Definitely.
I've seen this before. I know what to do now.
Right. I know how he's stepping in. I know how he's reaching. And hindsight's 2020. I've talked to my coaches quite a bit about some of the things we saw. In retrospect, probably should have switched my stance to southpaw to keep that left hand up and to reach with the right, as opposed to staying in orthodox and reaching. This left hand's low. He saw me step in the second round, about 2 inches above my left glove, wrapped his foot around my head, and dropped me with that head kick.
Yeah. It looked
definitely.
So I rewatched that like 5 times because I was trying to figure out, like, did you not see it? It looked like he froze you for a second, and then it just came right. It literally just, I mean, we've seen it 1,000 times in MMA. It's like you didn't even see it. You hit the canvas, and then you basically jumped right back up. But how were you feeling once you hit the canvas?
So that's a question right there.
Yeah.
So
What's going through your mind at that moment?
So he kept throwing that leg kick. He kept flinching it. And so I kept coming up to check the kick. And so he flinched that leg kick, and I came up with my left foot. Mm-hmm. And then he brought it high. So he froze me with that feint. And so I came up off my left foot. So all the impact hit me because I was kind of up in the air as opposed to being solid. And that's why it caught me so hard, about 2 inches above my glove. But I was definitely out the second the kick hit me. I was not there. I woke up when my hands hit the canvas. So my hands hit the canvas and I looked up, couldn't hear anything. Room was spinning. And I was like, that was quick. And then kind of the reality of like, oh, dude, you just got dropped. And in my head, I was kind of going through the motions of like, what's about to happen. And I was like, okay, make yourself stand up. The ref's going to tell you to lift your gloves, and then he's going to tell you to take a step forward. And I kept repeating that to myself in my head. And when I've watched the fight back, and it seems like it happened really quick. It seems like I just hopped right back up. I was like, oh, I'm good. Like everything's good. That was not the case in my head. I felt like everything was slow motion. Ears were ringing really bad. Couldn't really hear anything. Room was spinning. But I stood up, and like I saw the ref's mouth move, and I said, he just, like in my head, I told myself, he told me to put my hands up. And so I raised my hands. And then I saw his mouth move again, and I told myself, he told me to take a step forward. And so then I took a step forward.
Oh,
and he was like, all right, fight. And so in my head, the second round ended immediately. Like as soon as I stood up, the bell rung and I was in the corner. But when I watched the fight back, we fought for about 15 or 20 more seconds before the bell rung. And so I never sit on the stool ever. Like I don't like sitting down and standing up, like in when we practice and drills ever. Right. I never sit down. I hate it. And my coach knows that. He knows that, like, hey, I'm always going to stand when I go to the corner in between rounds. That's how I like it. But I kind of came to when I was sitting on the stool in the corner. And I was like, dude, why am I sitting down? This doesn't make any sense. Wow. And then my coach is like, he's talking me through like, hey, how are we going to come at this third round? And my right hand is by far my most, like, that's my weapon. Like, that's all like, if I can hit somebody flush with my right hand, they're going to go to sleep. And so my coach is like, he's talking me through, hey, you're going to set up your right hand and go for the finish in the third. Because I got 10-8'd on the scorecards in the second round. Like if you get, like, cause I got dropped. Yeah. If you get 10-8'd, like you got to finish the fight. Like, it's going to be pretty impossible to win a fight after you get 10-8'd. And so like, he's telling me, and like, nothing is registering. Nothing is really like, all I'm hearing is overhand right. And I'm like, okay, overhand right. Like, and then like the round starts and I just throw an overhand right. And then I hear my coach behind my ear and he's like, you have to set it up, dude. Like, you got to set it up. Like, you're rookie. Yeah. He's like, what are you doing? Like, set it up. And I'm like, oh yeah, set it up. So then, I start trying to set some stuff up. I throw him in some clinch. I did land one solid big hook. He did like a spinning attack and I kind of timed it. And then I was able to sweep him. So I had a pretty good third round.
Yeah, you really did, considering after you got knocked down.
I don't remember much of it. I don't remember much of the third round.
I hate to hear that, Bryson. I really do. That's not good for the old head, buddy.
Not good for the old head. I did get evaluated after the fight. No concussion symptoms. My eyes didn't click at all. Remembered good. Where I was. Everything checked up. We did the next day as well, and the days since, and all good. Head's all solid. Didn't feel good in the moment, but it was a great experience. And after the fight, came to the center and talked with him. And he told me, he's like, man, he's like, your clinch game's insane. Like you're really strong. Just keep working. He's like, when you put it all together, you're going to be really good. Wow. And I told him, and I was like, thanks, man. I was like, I'll tell you this much, man. Like, you got a kick on you. we both shared a laugh. We both,
that's the beauty of this sport, man. I mean, you and I have been watching for a long time, and it's just like, I mean, to me, the whole concept that, two men are willing to just, really got to put your pride to the side for one, because it's like, I'm about to go face somebody that's been training to do, what I've been training to do. And it could go bad, and I was watching it. My wife and I was actually watching it on Instagram. Bethany was, went live with it. So we were watching it, and like at the very beginning, I was just like, okay, I was like, man, this dude looks good. I was like, this guy's got some, and I remember you telling me that he was older, and I was like, I don't know if I like that, because that means he's probably got more, more experience. But yeah, I was impressed with your clinch. And then when he dropped you, like, to me, it's like you popped right back up, and I was like, okay, cool. That didn't really hurt him. I just thought it kind of caught you off guard and you dropped it, because I mean, it did. It looked like you popped right back up and started fighting and finished the round halfway decent. And then the third round, you looked
probably my best round.
Good. Yeah. So maybe next fight, just go in with a concussion and
and then we'll be good. Just go on autopilot for the whole time.
Yeah. Just don't be like your boy and throw up in the corner after the first round.
I know. So unfortunate.
What happened with that? What caused him to throw up? Was it a concussion or anything?
No, so yeah, what's crazy is he really didn't take any shots to the head, and so the ref even told me, he's like, "Hey, I know you're fine, but I have to, um,
Wow.
I have to call it." I would assume it's because he didn't get like a super hard warm up in, just
Yeah.
because the change of his fight
Oh
order.
yeah.
I think
And he
that
probably and did he eat before it and
he
all
didn't
that?
eat much. He just had like a banana and water. And I think his output, with no real warm up, I think his heart rate got too high. He's maybe some nerves. Um,
That's
it's just
crazy.
unfortunate because he definitely would have won that fight and done pretty well
Really.
in the tournament. But what's good is he's going to fight again here in 2.5 weeks, and so he's going to get that back. Obviously, with my head, I want to take a little bit of
Yeah.
time, and so my next fight will be in June 19th in Santa Cruz, and
That's not that
so
much time.
about 7 weeks, 7 weeks.
Yeah.
So
So do
really
you
just
so do you think it's better to take a fight to learn more, or would it benefit you to like train 6 more months, right? And work on what you did right and what you did wrong in the first fight? Like
yeah. So I think
what makes you rush into another fight?
yeah. So that's kind of like the thing, right? I would say like at first you want to spend a lot of time training. I feel like I've put in a lot of time training where like my
Right.
fundamentals are good. Like my fundamentals are good, and the when you get in the fight, like you see everything, you see so many little things like that you never see when you're training.
Right.
Because a lot of times you're sparring the same guy. Well, you are like, unless you're
Yeah.
going to different gyms constantly, like, or your gym is bringing in new sparring partners, you're sparring the same guys over and over. And so
Right.
what's kind of funny is Logan is my teammate's name, but like a lot of times when we spar each other, we'll be like, "Hey man, like I noticed this, like you have this opening, but excuse me, but or like if like, oh, like you should add this to the end of that combo, or like when you move here, you should try this." And then like we'll always end it with being like, "But I told you, so when we spar, it's not going to work because I know what you're about to
Yeah,
do."
yeah. That's
And
interesting
so
though that you can pick up, just by, it's one thing if you're playing one-on-one with somebody, basketball, you're like, yeah, I know you're going to do that spin move. It's another thing when you're throwing punches at each other, you know?
right, and like that's what's so crazy is like how much of a family our gym is, and like the guys that I spar with regularly, and the guys who are competing is like we beat each other up all the time. Like we bruise each other's ribs sometimes, like we bust each other's nose. Like we're so close in that gym, and like I will say this: like there's nothing that's better for your mental health than being like in that community.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about fighting is like Dominic Reyes, like we've seen it with him and his story, with how much he's dealt with mental health. Is like when you win a fight, you're Superman. It's the greatest thing in the world. But when you lose a fight, you're like way down here. It's ultimate despair. But being a part of that community is so good for your mental health. And like myself, like coming from my military experience, I exited the Marine Corps because of my mental health. I was kind of done with it. I knew that,
Elaborate on that, because I was about to go there with you, because you've shared a few stuff with a few things in my past, and I mean you've shared some stories of stuff that you had to do in the Marines, which just blows my mind that they would put that responsibility on a whatever 18-year-old kid at that time, or 19, 20, however old you were. So yeah, talk about the mental health, to talk about getting out of the Marines, and kind of what's happened maybe to that part of your life after the Marines, or even during the Marines.
yeah, absolutely. So really, the last 2 or 3 years that I was a Marine really started dealing with mental health issues, as far as depression, um, really bad anxiety, diagnosed with a few different mental illnesses. And as the medication started to pile up, the side effects, and, just started to pile up. And I was like, man, like, in order to stay a Marine, like I've got to take 6 pills a day, one to keep me happy, one that makes me not too happy, one that like keeps me level, one that helps me like not have anxiety attacks, one that helps me go to sleep, one that helps me wake up. And
Wow.
it really just became like this game of like we're taking all these different pills so that ultimately like I don't get to a place where I want to kill myself, or that I'm having chronic panic attacks. And so
So where did that come from though? Was it simply did you ever have that before the Marines growing up or anything like that?
So I never did growing up or before I was a Marine. Um, I think a lot of it, some of it definitely is genetic. A lot of it comes from experience and trauma. A lot of it comes from like lack of sleep and stress.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of like hit head on. I had about a year and a half left in the Marine Corps, and I was hospitalized because my appendix was going to burst because of stress. And
Wow.
I was having my organs were swelling because of how stressed I was, and because of my mental health. And so like I was in the hospital, I'm like, what is wrong with him? And they were like going through everything, like it's his head, like it's crazy how stress and mental health can physically affect your body.
Yeah.
And so when I went through that, I kind of got to the point where I was like, dude, I'm physically, like, my body's falling apart because of how I feel and all the medications I'm having to take. And so really the only thing that really got me to the end of my Marine Corps career was my camaraderie that I had with my boys in the Marine Corps. And so, I'd kept those relationships, but when I exited the Marine Corps, like, I lost all that camaraderie. I lost that, like, being able to like see your boys every day. And like a lot of guys in the military are dealing with mental health issues. And so, there's really like, there's no judgment when you're just talking to a guy and like, man, like, this is the kind of stuff that's going through my head. Like, this is the kind of stuff I'm thinking about. And it's, when you exit the Marine Corps, it's not so normal. Like, it's normal. Mental health issues are so widespread, but it's not normal to just openly discuss them, with friends. It's not to be like, oh yeah, dude, like, I had my pistol to my head last night. Like, that's not, like, that's not like something you just talk commonly with people in the real world. Where in the Marine Corps, it would be like, dude, like, I'm not in a good place today. Like, these are the things I'm thinking about. I'm having flashbacks of this, or like, these are the types of things I'm going through. And it was very normal. And so when that normalcy is fostered, it kind of gets you through a lot of those real tough times, because you have so many people
because you're not the only one.
The same thing.
You're not the only one. Yeah, you don't feel like an outcast. It's like, well,
exactly,
he's dealing with it too, so I get it.
So in my head, I thought, like, I'm going to leave the Marine Corps, and all these issues that the Marine Corps created, I'm going to leave in the Marine Corps. Like, I'm going to leave that part of my life behind, and life's just going to be unicorns and rainbows and like happiness. Like, in my head, like, that's kind of how
that's understandable.
I pictured it.
Yeah.
And so I got out of the Marine Corps last July, and it was kind of like the most anticlimactic thing you could ever imagine. Like, in my head, I'm like, oh, my last day in the Marine Corps. And it's really just like, one day I went to work and the next day I didn't. It was like, oh, like, you're welcome, America. It's just kind of the end of it.
Yeah. Now I'm left with mental health issues and trying to figure out what to do with the rest of my life.
What do I do?
It's crazy.
So they do set you up to go to school, and they'll pay you to get things set. But a lot of guys are in a place mentally where they can't handle school. Like, like with everything they're dealing with, it's like, well, I can't handle a college course load. And so for me, like, I was really dealing with those issues when I first got out, and not having friends. And I moved across the country. I moved to San Francisco. I had been dating a girl, and I got a job out here. And so, like, and I had school set up. I was like, oh, like, it all makes sense. I'm gonna move to San Francisco. Life's gonna be good. Well, then about a month later, I quickly realized that, like,
the beautiful sunny days isn't enough.
Not at all. And so, the weather only goes so far, being out in California. And so was still dealing with mental health issues. And it's kind of crazy. I ended up, I'd gotten this wild altercation. I got my head split open. And you
showed me pictures of that. That's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I'll send it over. But it was about 3 a.m. and I was walking down Ocean Avenue in San Francisco. And I was like, what in the world has my life gotten to? Like, this, like, I thought this was the payoff. I thought life was good.
Yeah.
Like, I thought this was when life was going to turn, and things really suck. And so I ended up going to church just randomly, just kind of like, my parents, I grew up going to church. That's where we met.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because my mom would always ask me, I went to church, and I always be like, yeah, so that I wouldn't have to deal with it. And
I
I
went through
never
that
went.
stage.
And so,
Yeah,
uh,
mom, I'm
she,
going.
and so she had texted me, and she was like, hey, are you going to church? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, what church did you find? And I was like, oh shoot, now I got to find a church.
Just name some random one.
Yeah. And
It's
so
called
I
Grace. It's called Grace. It's really
yeah,
ironic.
yeah,
Yeah.
ironic name, mom.
There's
Oh,
a
I can't
Grace
find it on
Assembly of God
Google.
down here.
And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I know, right? And so I ended up going to church and getting plugged in there. And that was kind of like really the first step in helping me kind of get on track mentally. And I would
Now
say this
that's all kind of recently, right?
definitely, yeah, that was
Oh,
that started in October. I got hooked up in that church. Still going. I started going like a small group there.
right.
Got in with a bunch of guys. In a small group, and really just it kind of gave me that same camaraderie from the Marine Corps that
It
really helped me.
isn't it amazing how, because that's what I've always said about like being part of a basketball team. Like, I always played basketball and I love basketball. It was like just that camaraderie, just going to battle with people, having those buddies near you. It's interesting that it's like everything, whenever you didn't have it, that was one of the things that you were lacking. It just,
Definitely.
especially nowadays where everyone has been forced to be isolated. It shows you how important it is for people to be together, no matter what kind of group it is, from martial arts, from Marines,
100%.
sports, church. It's so important.
And so it's awesome because I found a community at that church and all those people. And so then I got into 10th Planet and like became family with those guys, and like got that same camaraderie built there that's really helped me mentally. And it was awesome to prepare for this fight and to go through this camp and have this like the whole support of that church that I've been going to. It's called the Father's House here in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's just like Dominic Reyes talked about. Like it sucks when you lose. Like he said, like I love the fight game, but the fight game doesn't always love me.
Yeah.
That is it. Like,
Yeah.
like you can love it and you can train and you can fight, but it doesn't always go your way. And when it doesn't, it hurts. But like
Yeah.
being able to have those brothers, like my brothers at the gym, my brothers at church, like that whole community and that support is so important for your mental health.
So
And that did wonders for me.
I bet. So talk about immediately after the fight, how I looked at it as like, cool, man. Like he went out, he fought, he got knocked down, he got up, finished the fight. Like he's not supposed to win. It's his first fight, which I didn't know you kind of had some of the background, in the Marines. But with your family there, with of course you promote it on your social media, you're all excited about it. You wait for the delay, yada yada yada, and then it doesn't go your way. Did that mental health kick in right then immediately, or did it feel more comforting because you had your family and you had your boys and you had your church?
So, I mean, it's a little bit of both, right? Like I think one part of it is like when you get in there, it's you. Like you have your coach in your corner, you have your teammates, you have your family, you have everybody supporting you, but like you're the only one getting punched in the face. Like you're the only one, or getting kicked in the head. Like
Yeah.
you're the one who's in there fighting. And so you kind of
Right.
have to block all that out while you're in there. It's like while you're fighting, it's just like, what am I doing? Throw them in the clinch. And yeah, like as a fan of the sport, like guys who clinch guys and like just throw knees and like
Yeah.
dirty box, like that's not what the fans really want to see. But
Right.
like I promise you this, like if you're the one getting kicked in the head, if you're the one getting punched, but you can clinch the guy, you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna clinch him,
Like,
and I'm gonna
let's
try to
hug,
get some
please.
rounds.
Let's hug.
Yeah,
just
I'm gonna
stay
pull
close.
this guy's head down, throw some elbows, like I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of put all that away and just go in there and fight your fight. And then as soon as it's over, it all kind of sets on you of like, man, like I didn't win. And like the reality of like the other guy getting his hand raised and you're just standing there. Like that's when it all kind of sets in, because like you're looking into the crowd, like you're seeing your family, you're seeing your friends, like look at you, and like you see like the phones, you're like, man, like everybody through that lens is seeing like I just lost. Like that really sucks. And so it's pretty overwhelming.
But what's crazy about it though, Bryson, is that we're looking at it as in like, man, I'm proud of him. Like that's crazy. Like I couldn't do it. Right. So like in the moment where you're so hard on yourself and because it is all lights on you. Right. Like I'm sure I speak for your family and for your friends. It's like to us, you're doing something that we wouldn't even fathom of doing. So it's like we can't talk crap about you losing. You know what I'm saying? Like if I took that headshot, I'd still be laying. I'd be like, give me my sleep number bed. I'm just gonna
That's
stay
it.
right
That's
here.
it.
Put it on number 20. I'm chilling right here.
Yeah. And so that's, like, you get checked by the doctors, and like, as Brendan Schaub calls it, the concussion shuffle. But like,
Yeah.
you get checked by the doctors, and the whole time you just want to get out of there. You're like, I just want to get out of this room as fast as possible. Like, I want to go like out of here. And so, we were required to wear because like the Olympic style commission, like we had to wear like the singlet tops, like the tank tops, like that symbol red and blue corner. And so like I immediately, just like ripped mine off. Like I went outside and I was just by myself for a minute, just like breathing and like really trying to come to terms like with what just happened. And came back inside. My coach, my family, everybody's standing right there. And it's pretty like the feelings are just like kind of like overwhelming you. And it's such an emotional like roller coaster of like you warm up and you're feeling like just a savage, and like your coach is talking to you. He's and the thing is, like, fighters talk and they run their mouths, but like, and Khabib's talked about it, like if you're gonna get in there, like you have to have the mindset of like you're the greatest fighter in the world.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a man alive who can touch you, and like that's the mindset you put in your head, because losing is not an option. If you go in there timid, nervous, scared, like you're gonna get hurt. And so like you set yourself up with like winning is the only option, and then when you have to swallow a different result, that's really tough. That's really hard. And so like I sit down and my coach is cutting the tape off my hands, and like everyone's trying to like encourage you, and you really just don't want it. Like you're really just like, man, I just want to like get out of here. And so like my teammate Logan and my coach Gino, like he's like, hey, like let's go, because it all happened at the same hotel, like the same event center. And he's like, let's go up to the room, let's get out of here, we'll shower up, we'll talk. And so we get up to the room, and like that's when it dumps, like when you're just in there and
by yourself,
like you're in there by yourself and like with your teammate, with your coach, and it's pretty silent, it's pretty quiet. When we just started talking, and like that's when I broke down. That's when I broke down with my coach, my teammate. Like I'm not a super emotional guy in terms of like, I don't get sad often.
So you broke down like in tears, like you're just
absolutely. Emotionally. I was bawling.
Now was that a good release though? Was it like
definitely like I needed it, of like just that moment of like, holy cow, like I just went through that entire roller coaster, like the warm up for the fight, getting psyched up, getting in there, getting dropped, finishing the fight. Okay, I lost. Okay, I got checked by the doctors. My family's here. Everybody's here. It's just this huge rush of like, like coming to terms with everything that's taken place.
It's such a big event. It's such a big everything that goes into it.
I was bawling and like kind of like just releasing all of it, and like, wow, like that's what just transpired. Like that's what just took place. And a lot of fighters break down like before the fight. They talk about like being so emotional before the fight, like they start crying in their warm up. But for me, it was afterwards, just in my hotel room, just like bawling, like just talking to my teammates, like talking to my coaches, like telling them like what they meant to me, like being like, man, like I couldn't have done this camp without you guys. Like thank you so much. Like mentally, like I was in such a tough spot, and like what you guys invested so much in me. Like thank you for going to war with me. Like thank you for caring enough about me and investing in this. Like this is just the beginning with like this team, and like we're gonna keep working, we're gonna get better.
Did you feel that pressure of letting them down? Did you feel like you let them down?
I feel like I did. Like I feel like it was like, man, like they invested so much in me, so much time, so much energy, like going through film with me, dissecting my game, sparring rounds with me, like so much. I was like, man, like I feel like I didn't give them like the performance to the level of like what they've trained me to be.
Right.
They didn't make me feel like that. Like my coach was like, dude, you fought your fight, you went in there, you got caught, like, but like we know how to get better from here. We know what we're doing. We know where we're going. And he was immediately like, dude, there's a million fights. Like there's always going to be fights. Like we can get more fights. Let's get you healthy. Let's let's work on the things that went wrong, didn't go right. And he's like, really? He's like, you were this close to winning. You were a head kick, a groin shot, and and a couple tweaks from winning this fight. And so like, what sucked is like getting into the gym Like I flew back on Monday, getting into the gym Tuesday morning, and my coach is like, "How many times have you watched your fight?" I was like, "I don't know, probably 300 times." And he's like, "So what are your takeaways?" And I'm like, I should have switched to southpaw. I should have bladed my stance. Like I should have done like there's like 4 or 5 things. And he was like, "Yep." He's like, "If you would have done those things, like we'd have fought again. Like who knows what we would be talking about today." And
Yeah.
it's like, you know what? Like I'm gonna drill those things. I'm gonna put those things deep into my mind. I'm gonna remember those, those corrections. And next time I don't get dropped with the head kick.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot of pressure. And I would say like, because it's so like fighting, it's a one-on-one sport, and there's one winner and there's one loser.
Yeah.
And there's something about, basketball, football, baseball, other sports where like you lose and you're like, "Hey, we lost. Like, hey, we got another one on Sunday." Like it's like, okay, like get back in there, like fight the next one the next week, and we have a chance to get back in there. We're fighting. It's like you take months to prepare for one fight, and then you get in there and like you lose, and it's like ultimate, just like a huge draining event. And it's like, oh, well, now I have months again to prepare for another fight.
Yeah.
And so
does it give you
it's so magnified.
Yeah. Does it give you so much more respect for those in the UFC or any other major
100%.
organization? I mean,
100%.
I've listened to so many fighter interviews. Like even if I don't like the fighter, I almost get upset when people critique them and we used to give each other crap because you didn't like Daniel Cormier because he cried. I like Daniel Cormier because he cried, because like
he's real.
That's him. Just like you crying in the hotel, like you gave your all. You tried so hard to beat this man. You trained, you went through blood, sweat, you took time away from your family, you did all that, and then you fall short. Like it's the ultimate, and then you're doing it in front of millions of people if you're that guy,
Yeah, and I can imagine like. And that's the thing, like the other events that I've done before this one were like really small, like not, there's not a lot of people, like not really like promoted or anything. This was a massive event where I got on a plane, made weights, 600 fighters. There's the whole like event center full of people watching you fight. It's like streamed on Instagram. Like if you want to watch it, like they do like a delayed, they play it like a day later on the US Muay Thai Open website. It's like $50 pay-per-view. And like there's a ton of people who are potentially going to watch this. Like I can't imagine like fighting in the UFC, like John Jones, Daniel Cormier, like, and like for Daniel Cormier, like that was an opponent like he fought before. It was so personal. I can't imagine like the work that he put in for that fight. How many times he visualized himself winning, because that's a huge part of it is like your visualization, like visualizing getting your hand raised, visualizing like working your combos, working everything that you've put into practice, like in the fight, and like what that's going to feel like, what that's going to be like, and then to fall short. Like, like I have a newfound respect for like the fighters who like Daniel Cormier, who like break down in the octagon and they're like, man, like I can't what did Daniel say when he was crying? He said, "I worked so hard."
Yeah,
man.
dude.
He's like, "I worked so hard." And like, that's how I felt that. Like, I feel that.
And the other side of that, we just saw a couple of weeks ago when Rose won. I mean, when Rose won, I mean, dude, you've been over to my house for fight nights, like all the guy, we all wanted her to win so bad. And then to watch her win and her just shaking and just like, so like you could just, cause she won it, lost it, and then came back and was fighting this chick that is so scary, man.
And dude, like that makes me emotional to think about. Like, no joke. Like,
I got emotional
her in the
night.
octagon, like crying, like because she was the champ. She worked so hard to beat Joanna. It was such a huge upset, and then she lost her belt, and then it was years ago. It was like 2 years ago. She spent that time working to get back to that place, and like just that emotional dump of like she's like, I'm so happy, like I can't believe this, like and she gives glory to God, and she does her thing, and her husband's right there, Pat Barry, like hyping her up.
I'm the best. I'm the best.
I'm the best. Like just. Oh my goodness. Like it makes me so like I like the last 5 days that I've been training since I've been home. Like those kind of moments are like what I'm visualizing in the training room. Like, like I fell short on Saturday night, but like I'm going to win June 19th. Like, and it's going to feel real good. And then like, I know, like I win that fight and I don't take too much damage, I'm fighting again in July. Like I win that one. And like, things are looking good. I'm fighting again in August. And then like the US Muay Thai Open has another event in New York City in November. And I'm like, you know what? Like, it didn't go my way like this last time, but I'm gonna win these next few fights. I'm gonna go to New York City, like, and I'm gonna put in the work for these next 6 months to like get back in there, and like I'm gonna get my hand raised then, and like, and those are the thoughts I'm gonna have. Like that's the mindset I'm gonna have. Like, you know what? Like I put in the time, like I put in the effort, and like even if I come short, then the journey continues, and you just keep working and keep getting better. And like I know my coaches and I know the people that I've surrounded with myself with are successful individuals. Like they've done it, they've been there, they're all pros, they've all climbed the mountain themselves. And so I know that like as long as I hang around these dudes and I put in the work, they're gonna give me the tools to be successful. They're gonna give me the tools to get where I want to be. And yeah, and my goal is to have a moment just like Rose, like probably a few of them. Man, like I worked so hard for this. Like I worked so hard, and this is where I'm at.
So you kind of just said it, but my next question was going to be like, what's your goal for this? Like, where do you want to take it? What's the finish line? Is this just something for you to do and to keep those competitive juices going, or do you want to make money doing it? What?
Yeah, like that would be the goal. To like become a prize fighter, like to work and to get to a place where like this is all that I'm doing. And I'm in school right now as well, which is quite the balancing act to train so much and be in class. And if I can
listen to podcasts
and listen to all the podcasts we listen to, if I can get to a point where I'm only fighting and I don't have to go to school, that would be the goal. That would be pretty great. And yeah, I want to train. I want to train and work hard and keep competing. And I eventually want to become a coach. This is definitely what I want to do.
That's what I was going to ask.
I think that's I definitely have a passion for coaching, and I've coached wrestling before, youth wrestling. I've coached in different things, and like I think that's the most rewarding. So I want to train and I want to fight for as long as possible. And I basically what I want to do is I want to reach my potential wherever that is. And like I don't want to be a guy, like well, if I was a guy like BJ Penn, I'd be pretty happy. But like one part of this, part of this thing, right? So like one thing is like what I don't want to do is overextend my welcome in fighting. What I want to do is I want to fight, I want to train, I want to get as good as I possibly can, and I want to see like what my potential is in fighting. I want to see, how good can I really be? And when I kind of reach the level of like, okay, like this is kind of your potential, this is your max. That's when I want to transition over to the coaching aspect of it. And I'll still train, but I'm not going to be, taking licks on the head in fights, getting dropped and all the bloody noses and whatnot.
Do you only want to do Muay Thai?
No, so definitely want to transition over to MMA. That is the goal. With my clinch game, like I have a ground fighting and wrestling background. I feel like on Saturday, if in that fight, like if I would have been able to take him to the ground to work ground and pound to wrestle, I feel like I would have beat him pretty easily. Whereas his striking was where he really had the advantage on me. And so I definitely want to get my striking on point. Like right now, that's the main goal. And I'm training jujitsu as well at 10th Planet, and like those guys are ninjas, dude. As far as their jujitsu goes, I have a lot of ground fighting and wrestling experience, and those just tapping out 37 times of practice.
Man!
But if you're not if you're not working with those dudes, then what's the point?
Are you seeing a lot of UFC fighters and whatnot in there, or is that?
So there are guys who are fighting like all over the spectrum who are coming through. And 10th Planet's pretty big. So there's 10th Planets like in LA, in Daly City, Elk Grove, Oakland. So it's the whole community. So people kind of rotate from spot to spot.
And it's not just one big gym.
Right. Yeah. So I do want to go down to the headquarters in LA, get some training out there as well. That'd be pretty cool. Be fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, Eddie Bravo's running practices out there. That's pretty sick.
But you can't walk in like, oh my God, Eddie Bravo.
Right, I know. I gotta.
Let's talk about the flat Earth.
I know. Like, hey, man, like just check it out, bro.
3 hours later, you're done talking to him.
But that's crazy, the 10th Planet community is it's so elite, and there's so many, great coaches and great fighters, and just surrounding yourself with successful individuals raises your raises your potential, just like surrounding yourself with guys who can see, a lot of the different things that you're doing, and they can add so many elements to your game. It really just goes far. And they, my coaches sent me to Santa Rosa in my camp to work with the NorCal Fight Alliance. That's where David Terrell runs that camp, and obviously, he fought in the UFC, knocked out Matt Lindland, and had a pretty historic career in BJJ, and they have all sorts of professional fighters in there. And being able to work with those guys, just absolutely insane. When you spar with guys who are world champions and who have fought in Thailand and fought all over, and, in huge organizations, like, it just raises the level of what you're capable of doing.
It's like the whole concept of, like, you have an organization that literally takes all of the best fighters in the world. It doesn't matter where you're at, like Brazil, Russia, like they're all in this one specific league, and you all are trying to figure out who the baddest man is or woman is on any given night. And then to be the Francis Ngannou or the John Jones or the Usman, like how do you not walk around just being like, I can beat you up, I can beat you up, I can beat you up, I can beat, like, I know I don't even think you got martial artists. I'm not even sure if they even think that way. Do you? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, now that you have those skills, do you walk around with confidence of like, I can defend myself, or is it just a different thing?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's really like a superiority complex or anything like that, because more than anything else, like, elite martial art coaches, like, it's all about discipline. It's all about respect. It's all about control. There's so much mutual respect, and like, kind of like we talked about, like at the end of my fight, coming to the center and talking with that dude who just bloodied my nose and knocked me down with a head kick, like, and I threw knees into him and like hit, like, we're like, almost killing each other, and like, really the ref's the only thing that keeps us from hurting each other severely, putting each other in the hospital. Like, we still like laugh and shake hands, and you're like, like, hey, like, that was awesome, man. Like, that's kind of like just the environment that's bred in martial arts gyms and across the world, like in different arts. And the UFC does have like the entertainment aspect of, like, I'm gonna knock this dude out, I'm gonna do this, and they kind of foster some of that hype. But more than anything else, it's respect and it's discipline, and like, it takes two fighters, right, to make a fight. Like, and you have a whole lot of respect for the dude who put in just about the same work as you did. And you, like, there's just a respect of like, hey, you're the type of individual that I am. Like, you're just crazy enough to get inside a ring and throw knees and throw elbows and bust somebody up.
That's what Masvidal said about Usman. He was like, man, that was a beautiful knockout. Like, just to be able to, see the setup. It's like you were saying earlier, like how you learn how to set somebody up, and then you do this
right,
only to watch them drop that hand just an inch, and then you got them. It's just this game of chess. It drives me crazy when people watch and they just, oh, this is so brutal. How do you watch it? It's like, you don't get it. Like, you're not watching the art of it. Yes, it can end very badly, but these guys are playing chess, and every little
100% violent chess. It's violent chess.
Yes.
And guys like Dominic Cruz, guys, who their fighter IQ is just so high. Like, and like, you talk about like Trevor Whitman, Usman's coach, like, and Justin Gaethje's coach, and Rosa's coach. Like, he is the king of programming fighters and seeing, okay, how can we get him to drop his hand 2 inches? In the past, when we've watched them fight, when does his left hand come down? Like, how do we get that fighter to a place where you can land your best weapon? And there's nobody better at it than Trevor Whitman or Dwayne Bang Ludwig, the best coaches. But that's what that's what it is. It's like, you can't just be some dumb barbarian and they're throwing hands. Like, they talk about like, oh, like, that guy can take a punch. Yeah, I've seen a lot of heavy bags in the gym take a lot of punches and they haven't won any fights. Like, you've got to you got to
bob and weave.
You got to be able to get in there and do your thing and move around and just be able to make it happen. Like, you got to be able to set that guy up, to program and to find those openings, to connect with the jab and come over the top and do the things that are going to make that guy really just able to be hit. Because a lot of guys, they're real good defensively, and
Yeah.
they're not going to open up by just working your game. Like you've got to figure out a way to get that guy to respond one way or
Yeah.
another so that you can hit him the way you want to hit him.
And it's got to feel good once you connect.
Oh, definitely,
Right.
definitely,
And
yeah.
then, and then once you connect, you got to defend.
Right,
It's like
because
you
yeah,
can't.
you got to be 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of the other guy.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's where that training comes in, obviously.
Definitely, and a lot of it's just reactions. Like being exhausted in the training room and still hitting those same combos.
Yeah.
Like for me, like one of my favorite combos is the 2-3-2, the cross hook cross. And so like for me, like I drill it like from like 30,000 different positions of like, oh, like you slip the punch 2-3-2. Oh, like
Yeah.
you blocked the punch 2-3-2. You caught the punch 2-3-2.
Oh,
Like
wow.
just being able to like throw like my best combinations and um my best weapons from different positions, finding ways to throw them, finding ways to set them up. And so obviously, like there are levels to the game, and you see that like the more that you get into this world, the more you see like, dude, like I am here, and then there's guys who are here, and then there's guys who
Yeah.
are here,
Oh, yeah.
and then all the
Oh,
way,
yeah.
like way
Yeah.
up there. It's like
Yeah. It'll humble
it
you.
gives you a newfound respect for like guys who just like get into the UFC for a few fights or a Bellator or one championship, and it's like, oh, like so that's where those guys are at. And then it's like then there's the top heap, like there's the top 15, and then
Yeah.
you see like the guys who are at the very top of the game, and like there's like a new like fans love to hate on fighters. They're like, oh, like that guy's boring, that guy's this. It's like, dude, that guy is he
You have
is
no
so
idea.
elite. He's put in so much work. He's so
Yeah.
tough. Like he's okay. So his striking isn't as good as the very best striker in the world. Like his
Right.
striking is still eons above
Yes.
anyone you've ever seen in real life.
Yes, exactly. Ben Askren would still knock you out.
Yes, and I feel like
Maybe.
we can we talk about like the YouTubers, and the Logan Pauls and the
Yeah,
Jake
yeah.
Pauls and the guys who get into that, but I
But
think
even
that it makes people feel a little bit like it humanizes fighters a little
right.
bit, but I can promise you they're not human. I can promise you the
Yeah.
guys at the top of the heap, that these YouTube guys have no hope. And I would love to see, Jake Paul come to MMA. He'll never do it. He's
No.
that's not what he wants to do.
No.
But I'd love to see him just get in the cage for 2 minutes against anybody.
I think just in general, like if for anyone to say a boxer could beat up an MMA fighter, like in a anything goes fight, like literally it would take one leg kick. Like one leg kick would drop 90% of boxers. I mean, it's just a different.
If you tried to kick a fighter and they checked your kick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That alone. Yeah.
It'd be over.
So how are your kicks? Do you feel comfortable kicking?
Oh, definitely. I definitely feel pretty comfortable kicking. I would say like like you watch like what happened with our boy Chris Weidman a couple weeks ago. Just like disgusting injuries like that, they definitely make you like a little apprehensive. Like they definitely make you like, oh yikes, like that's like the possibility of what could happen. But at the same time, like you just gotta go in there and let it rip. You just gotta go in there and do your thing. And kind of just trust your skills. Like it's the same thing as like witnessing injuries. I used to power lift. And I've seen so many videos of guys like tearing their pec bench pressing. And every time I would bench press heavy, that would go through my head. And I was like, okay, like don't tear your pec. Like it would make me a little apprehensive. But it's just one of those things that you have to get over mentally. Like you have to get over that, and you have to get in there, and you have to do your thing. And just trust your skills and trust your training.
So do you do anything for your mental health? I mean, has that subsided a lot, or is that something you still putting effort into, or what?
Yeah, definitely. Like mental health is something that you really like. You're either always moving forward or back. You're really never staying the same. So yeah, like I do. I talk to a therapist weekly. I do like different meditation. I spend a lot more time by myself. Just I do like a lot of like journaling and like I read my Bible. That helps me a lot. Like I'll do like affirmations. So like read like different things about myself like that, like say them out loud, and like that helps like undo like a lot of like different thought patterns and
Mm-hmm.
negativity. I think that's helped me a lot. And then visualization is
Wow.
big. Just like closing your eyes and seeing yourself be successful is a big
Yeah.
one. Like a
I've
lot
heard
of
that a
people don't
lot.
do that, but
Yeah.
that's a big one for me. Just like being able to think about like, hey, okay, these are the things that I'm working towards, and like this is what that moment's going to feel like, and this is what it's going to feel like to succeed.
Right.
And that's done wonders for me.
Man, that's awesome, dude. Man, dude, I'm happy for you. I think it's crazy, but
Thank
I mean,
you, man.
it's just funny because it's like, we've obviously been watching the sport, texting about it, and it's just like now you're in it, like it's not like you just went and took kickboxing class to stay in shape. It's like my
Right.
boy's in it, man. Like he's doing the damn thing.
Definitely, and it's awesome, man. And that's one thing that's so cool about it is like the support aspect of it, like having like a community and having people who who are in your corner and who like who send you like the supportive text and who are like calling you and
Yeah.
like texting you like, dude, like like one more week, like you got it,
Yeah.
man. Like how you feeling? Like
Yeah,
that's big.
I couldn't believe you were like, I text your sister at one point to see how you're doing. And then I was like, because I didn't know if I wanted to text you, on your fight day. And I eventually text you. And you like text me right back. I was like, dang, dude, like you're about to go fight. Like, what are you doing
Dude,
texting me?
dude, that's one thing that's wild is like the after the weigh-in is like the longest period of your life. Like you have like
Oh,
36 hours till you fight, and like you're doing everything you can not to think about your fight. Like and like we were in the hotel room, like my coach, my buddy, like our families just hanging out, and like we're just like watching like old fights and like eating and like having a good time and like doing everything in our power not to think about the fact that we're gonna like go engage in a combat sport the next day.
right.
And like I'm a nervous eater, which is kind of good because I was like trying to pack on weight for that day. And I'm
Yeah.
just like throwing like like almonds,
Yeah.
like
Everything.
it's just everything you can imagine, just eating it up. But it's because like and I have my phone right there, and even like
Yeah.
Saturday, like because my fight had been delayed, like my hands are taped and wrapped, like my hands are like completely wrapped, and I'm just like sitting in bed, like like texting,
So
like I'm like
crazy.
I got nothing to do because I'm we're waiting to go warm up till I'm about an
Yeah.
hour and a half out, but it kept getting pushed back, and so I'm just sitting in the hotel room like in my fight shorts, like with my hands wrapped, like everything ready to go, just like just texting whoever's like willing to text me, whoever's
That's
available
crazy.
because I'm doing everything in my power not to think about the fact that I'm about to fight.
Yeah.
Um, and then when you warm up, you kind of like have to flip that switch. It's like, okay, it's time to go to war. Like it's time to do this. Like, let's get our mind right. Let's, go through all the steps, go through everything that I want to do, that I need to do. Like, let's visualize the first 30 seconds of the fight.
Right.
Like you flip that switch and say, okay, now it's time for that. But
Yeah.
before that, like you're doing everything you
Just
can not to be anxious about the fight.
Yeah, and not to get probably not wear yourself out, not just sit there and shadow box or
Oh
like
yeah.
wear yourself out. But yeah, that's the hardest part is waiting, not knowing when you're about to go to combat. I mean, I'm sure you can relate to that. With the Marines too. So, it's probably a silly question, but is there a lot that you can take from the Marines, like stuff that you've learned in the Marines with just
Mentally,
fighting in general?
yes. Like I
Yeah.
would say, like a lot of the mental aspects, 100% more than anything. Of just like in the Marine Corps, like they really just like breed in you like an it'll buff mindset. Like, hey, it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if plan A, B, C, D, E, and F go wrong. It doesn't matter if this guy goes down, that guy goes down. Like it'll buff. We're gonna make it. We're gonna be successful. At the end of the day, mission accomplishment is all that matters.
Right.
And so I would say like in my camp, in my training, in my warm up, in my fight, like when things went south, it was like little buff. Like I'm gonna make it through this. Like we're gonna be successful. We're gonna get this mission accomplished,
Right.
and we're gonna keep moving forward until it's over. And really, in my head, I didn't lose the fight. I just ran out of time. Like if I
Yeah, there
had,
you
like
go.
if I had 5 rounds with that guy, I'd have won. Like in my head,
Yeah.
like like that's kind of like the way it
You
works.
just have to
Um,
you have to hit that switch, right? You just have to,
yeah,
yeah.
just keep going. Just
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter what happens. Like just react to it and adjust and keep moving. And I would say like definitely the toughness of like it's corny, but like not about how hard you hit, but how hard you can get hit. Like it doesn't matter how hard you like. It doesn't matter, you know, if you've been OC sprayed and you can't see. It doesn't
Right.
matter if you're injured. It doesn't matter if you're banged up. It doesn't matter like what. You just have
Dude,
to be successful. You have to keep
you lit-
moving forward.
you literally just said it. It doesn't matter if you whatever you call it OC and you
OC
can't
sprayed or
see.
gassed. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you transition to the fight game and you're walking with your dad, the man that loves you the most, and you can't see, but dude, that's a crazy connection right there, man. You just,
Yeah.
hey,
You
it is
just
what it
do
is.
it.
I'll
You
figure it
just
out.
make it happen. You just go
Yeah.
for it. And like at the end of the day, like the chips are gonna fall where they fall. But like I'm gonna fight. Like the issue of the entire battle depended on me. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna fight. Like it's all on my shoulders, and like I'll take it all on my shoulders, and I'll do it, and I'll keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And I would say that's the biggest takeaway. Like the Marine Corps gave me, that translates to the fight game. Is just like, you know what? Like it's gonna suck. I'm gonna be sucking wind. I'm gonna be hurt. My nose is gonna be bleeding.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm gonna be groggy and I'm gonna get kicked in the head. Like I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna keep moving forward. I'm gonna keep fighting. Like,
Yeah.
and this guy might be a more skilled fighter than me. Like this guy might be quicker than me. He might be faster than me, but I promise, like I'm not gonna give up before he does.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That's mindset.
even though he's faster and quicker, you have to still find a way to navigate that and still win. Yeah. That's
Yep.
that's the battle. So
Yeah.
we'll wrap this up, but how's Mama Angie handling all of this?
So she
All of her babies are gone.
I know, man.
Y'all
Yeah, my
where's
brother.
yeah, where's Caleb now? Shout out
So
to Caleb.
so he's in the Navy. He's stationed in Guam.
Oh
So
wow.
he's in the Pacific, and then my sister, she's working in Denver.
For
And
now.
I'm for now. Yeah, we'll see. You know,
Next weekend she'll be somewhere else.
Yeah, she's always traveling, always moving. And then I'm in San Francisco.
Man.
So we're all over the place. My mom. I would say I'm proud of my mom for like, she came to the fight. She watched the fight. She's definitely not excited, about like me getting
This adventure.
the potential of like maybe getting hurt like seriously and things like that. But I feel like I prepared my mom pretty well for it. Like obviously like, I've kind of been the tough child on my parents. Like, I enlisted right out of high school, like going overseas, like I was always like, I would be like the physical sports, like the ones where you can get hurt. And my brother and sister like ran. So I feel like I've
twisted her ankle once.
Yeah. So like I've kind of always put my parents through it a little bit more. And my mom's not super excited to see me get hurt. And she talked about that. She was kind of like, oh, like after the fight, she's like, oh, like how's your head? Like she's definitely really concerned about like, the possibility of concussions and things like that. And then like obviously when I told her like, oh well, June 19th, I'm gonna get right back in there. Like she was like, are you serious? Like, that's kind of like her mindset.
It's the typical mama's worries, which is understandable.
But I think at the same time, she's also like, I've kind of seen her like, she's happy that like I'm happy. And then I'm finding avenues outside of the Marine Corps, like in this transition to civilian life that are allowing me to get that outlet, that are allowing me to still pursue my passions, to still work hard. And I think she sees like the discipline aspect of it. Like obviously like if I'm training twice a day and I'm going to school, and I'm going to church and like serving in my church as well. Like my schedule is like, it's packed to the brim. Like obviously I'm not spending too much time in bars. Like obviously, I'm not spending too much time,
it's
like
all positive.
Chasing girls or anything that could like kind of distract me. It's all kind of like, hey, like my life has to be built around like all these avenues that are working me towards where I want to get. Because like in the fight game, you really can't afford to like, oh, I'm gonna just go halfway at this. Like I'm just gonna like half care about my nutrition. Oh, I'm just gonna half. You can't. Like you can't. Like and like the motivation of I'm gonna get there and fight another human being is like, enough to be like, oh, like I don't need that food. Oh, like I'm gonna eat clean. Oh, like I'm gonna get that extra training session in. Oh, like I'm going to work hard so that my homework's done, so that I don't have to focus on that. I can just go train hard. And I think,
good for you.
I think that part of it, she's like, okay, like he's got his life, like
Oh yeah.
really, like really structured and put together, and he's working hard. And that part of it she likes. And the community, like she met my coaches this past weekend. Like she loves the community that I'm a part of.
That
Intense
helps.
Planet. But obviously the violence aspect of it, the damage aspect of it, she wants me to take care of my head. She wants me to take care of my body.
Yeah.
And well, we'll see. I think, you know, as it continues and she starts to see more of the highs, you know, of winning, and the, you know, more success, I feel like she'll jump on the train a little more.
Yeah,
so.
she'll have no choice, right?
Right, we're going. So let's get on the train.
Yeah. Well, she's got a lot to be proud of, man. You know,
Thank you.
I haven't talked to Caleb in a long time, but you know, I just small talks that I've had with you and obviously your sister, you know, just from time to time or whatever. But you know, they got some good kids, man. You guys are out there doing your thing, and I'm jealous of all the traveling, especially Bethany, man. I feel like she's always so. I'm like, you're living it up, girl. I ain't mad at you, but hey, you guys are in your 20s. That's what's up. That's what you do. So
definitely.
Well, man, dude, it was good to do this. It was good to do a podcast instead of talking about a podcast.
I know, you know? Right? It was fun, man. Definitely happy to be on here, man. And
good, dude.
You know, I've watched your last few episodes. I'm excited to be on one now.
Oh, cool, man. I appreciate you checking them out. They're fun. I'm kind of starting with, I think, kind of my circle, you know, my friends, my family, just some different people that I know. I mean, it's like as soon as I saw you were going through this, I was like, I got to pick his brain. I got to know this is good stuff for people to hear. And it gives you an opportunity to, you know, share what you've been through and talk about the mental health. And, you know, I don't know if this is too personal, but, you know, you went through a divorce at one time. I mean, there's so much more that, you know, we could dive into. So it's just, you know, I always say this is kind of the whole purpose of this podcast. It's just like, well, we all are born, and then it's just like, we all go different paths, just like your siblings, right? Just like your parents, just like, and it's just, you know, whatever it was that made you go to the Marines, and then whatever it was in the Marines that brought you to wherever you are now, you know, it's just, I don't know, all that just really fascinates me. So it's been cool, man. It's been cool to kind of watch you guys grow up and, you know, see you turn into this, you know, lethal fighter.
it's fun, man. It's fun, man. I appreciate you having you, man, and the relationship that we've built. It's been awesome. And
yeah, man.
You know, it's fun to, you know, see you like make this go from just talking about podcasts all the time to having your own. You know, it's fun to be a part of that ride as well.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. It feels good. Yeah, I kind of, when you were talking about that vision board, that's something I need to do, you know, and, you know, I'm almost 40 this year, you know, and I'm still kind of thinking about, you know, things I want, what drives me, what makes me happy, what's, you know, and this is just something fun for me to just get to know people. You know, it's something that's documented. It's something that you can share so your friends can get to know you better and all that. So yeah, man. So I appreciate you being a part of it. Appreciate you being part of my little circle here. So
absolutely. All right, thanks buddy. For having me.
No problem, man. Be good.
You as well.
King and the Sting drops tomorrow, so we'll be texting each other.
We'll be texting. You know it, man.
All right, buddy. Be good. Love you, brother.
All right, you too, man. Love you.
See you.
See you.